Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GothamChess Slow Run. In this series, I am playing on an authorized account on chess.com in the 10-minute and 15-minute rapid pool. I'm analyzing the games, going up the rating ladder, showing you how you too can gain ELO and fulfill all of your chess dreams. This is episode number 6. I'm uploading most of the videos to this channel, and I'm keeping a little playlist. And on my second channel, I'm uploading some bonus episodes in between. So far, there is only one, but soon there will be more. We are rated 550, roughly, today. I have a banana. I have a little bit of iced coffee. Let's jump into the games. So far, we've played some Londons. We've played some E4 games. And for this game, we've played some Caro-Kann, and so on and so forth. I like to show you different openings. So I'd like to show you the Scandinavian defense. This is an opening I wouldn't necessarily recommend for people who are in the 500s, but I do try to make these videos instructive for all levels. And even if you are 500, bringing out the queen a little bit early is okay, provided that you are a responsible individual. In the Scandinavian defense, you respond to the king's pawn with d5, the central strike. They capture. We're going to take with the queen. Now, the way I like to play this opening is I like to develop my pieces quite quickly, and then you can choose which way you're going to castle. This is by far the most common position in the Scandinavian defense. One of the benefits of the Scandinavian defense is you force the game. You force it. You're already targeting their center pawn, and when the queen is attacked, this is the most common thing that happens. Put the queen out to the edge of the board. Queen stays here. Next, you develop your knights. You develop your bishops. You can castle the long way. You can castle short side. We're playing somebody who's actually one rating point separated from us. Our opponent develops the knight. We're also going to do exactly that. Our opponent develops the bishop. We can develop the second knight. We can also develop this bishop. Me personally, I like to make this pin. Our opponent castles. Now I would like to develop my dark squared bishop, so I'm going to develop my pawn and this. Notice how we are not capturing. That would only help white. I've already said throughout this slow run that there's really no point to give your opponent a bishop unless you can explain why exactly you are doing that. They take the center. We can develop our bishop. We can develop it here. In fact, I quite like this move because it points our bishop in the direction of where white has castled. Many people now play something like pawn to a3, pawn to b4, h3. That targets our bishop. One thing I would like to try here, because I do try to teach you things for the entire rating spectrum. Here, definitely the best move is to retreat the bishop and kind of continue with life. But there is a concept that has come up, I think it came up in the last episode, but you can go back and watch, called a fishing pole. And a fishing pole is when a side has castled, a side has not castled, and you have a piece standing near the castled side, which is under attack. And what you do is you throw a little bait, and you play this move pawn to h5, because if they take, you take, and then you open up a rook to their king. Many people actually don't take the bait. They get scared. They see that if they take the bishop, you take, then you have a rook pointed directly down at their king. Okay, my opponent takes. I'm about to show you the power of this. So we are attacking the knight, but look at what we have against the king. And in chess, two things determine who has a better position. It's material and king safety. And the thing is, I don't want you to play like this. I don't want you to play for these kind of tricks. That's actually quite a reasonable move. The only thing is that now we immediately get back our return on investment. We can immediately take the knight. And so it wasn't a sacrifice really at all. And we just got kind of what we wanted. Now, when the queen comes out here, for many of you, the first thing that you should be thinking about here, and I want to really reshape your chess thought process. And this is the first thing that I notice. I see the queen there. I immediately ask myself, what is it seeing? What is the opponent's queen seeing? What are all the opponent's pieces seeing? So the queen is seeing my knight, but it's protected. by this pawn. Queen is also seeing this pawn, which is a really big problem, actually. And so I should protect this. I can push a pawn. I can also develop my knight. In fact, I prefer this move. But let's just say, you know, I go here. I actually anticipate bishop here, completely blundering the bishop. Maybe my opponent thought for a little while, because I was thinking, okay, and they actually played the better move. But it's very normal to blunder completely, you know, cross-board moves like this. Now, a lot of you would see this and go, okay, my bishop is targeted. If I take the bishop, they're going to take with the queen. Okay, that's a fair trade. Let's do it. A completely reasonable course of action. But in chess, there's a lot more hidden under the surface. We will get into that during the analysis. For now, let's just say this is a fair trade. Right, and let's make that trade. Now, the best move in this position is to justify the opening of our rook and bring the queen for maximum assistance. But cross-board moves are very, very difficult to spot. Those are not easy moves. I mean, with the queen here, you're looking at something like this. You're looking to attack this pawn, to attack the bishop. So I'm gonna play this move, and as always, we're gonna do, you know, the bulk of our soul searching in the analysis portion. Because there's so many things hidden in a chess game. It's really quite incredible. Believe it or not, the best move is actually just going for a run with the king. And, okay, my opponent does this, which is fine. I'm just going to pick this up. And now I have an extra pawn. Also, this is a target, so hopefully my opponent sees that. And, you know, either defends the pawn or gets in the way. With the rook here, I'm also thinking, okay, well, wouldn't it be great if I could get, like, backup, you know? Knight to e2, protecting this. Okay, great. Now, I can focus on this pawn and try to play pawn c5 and everything. But to be honest with you, I'm not done developing, you know? So let's go knight bd7. There's so many fascinating things about this game, and we will really get into it later. We still haven't castled, so let's castle. I just want to bring my rook some help and go straight down and you know, and attack the king. That's the way I'm looking at this. My opponent is playing defense. These rooks, you can call them passive. They're quite passive because one of them physically cannot move and the other one is totally blocked by the knight. So they are quite passive. The knight moved. What did it used to do? Well, the knight used to protect the center pawn. Continuity. Many people forget something had a job. And if you move it, it no longer does that job. It's no longer defending the pawn in the center of the board. Now, I had an idea, but obviously now, in a position like this, every pawn is important. Every pawn is important generally, but especially now. So first, I'm going to take the pawn in the center of the board. And, okay, I can continue with this plan. There's nothing wrong with it. We're not blundering anything. We're bringing a rook to the outskirts of the board, the only open file that our rooks actually have. Benefit of the fishing pole. You're learning 3 or 4 or 5 things in every one of these videos, and in the analysis of this game, we will learn even more. There are so many fascinating little things to talk about, which are beneficial, I think, for all the levels. Trying to keep in mind everything that's being targeted. Okay, the knight comes there. What does this knight see? The knights are seeing each other. The knight is also looking there, right? Spotting all the empty spots. So, look, here's a very interesting moment, right? The knight comes here, and your thought process should be, do I need to take? I can. Can they take me? They can. Do I have like 7 other moves that are probably fine? Yeah. Yeah. So I like to follow KISS, not the band. KISS, the acronym, keep it simple, stupid. By far the most simple move is just to take the knight. Just trade the pieces. A little bit more complicated move is the move rook to d5. And if this knight takes the knight, I'm going to ladder mate the king in the middle of the board. Meaning, usually you ladder mate a king at the end game, right? But now my opponent might take this, forgetting that the knight is actually, well, they don't. I mean, this person is quite sharp. Really, this person is quite sharp. Now I will still probably rotate my rook over, and you know, we see that I have very nasty intentions. I did not put my rook on that square because it would have been taken. So this knight is only protected by one pawn. I would love if I can maybe get this pawn there, but unfortunately that's impossible. So maybe I will put some pressure with the knight. Maybe I bring this knight forward, try to get the bishop, or maybe I bring this knight forward, try to get a fork. Good move. Good move. So maybe we play first with the knight to d5 because we want to attack the rook. And second, I would like to bring my pawn. And if the rook goes here, it actually gets trapped by the other knight. Okay, rook there. So this plays directly into my plan. Now, this pawn used to protect this pawn, by the way. So this is a free pawn. Half blundered, half, you know, obviously I still have this idea. But don't forget, when you move things, they used to defend something, right? They used to have a job, and when the second you move it, it stops guarding that thing. But because there is a pin here, that's immediately what I'm thinking about. Now, I see this move, by the way. Also nice move. But I would like to continue with my plan, pawn to f4. And we have a very straightforward attack here because our rooks are pressuring on this side. Everything is totally under control. This bishop is oh, no, there you go. Well spotted, well spotted. Takes. It's not mate, unfortunately. It would be really lovely. The rook sees the pawn, but it's protected. Rook can come down, but that's protected. Bishop is seeing a bunch of empty squares. There's nothing to write home about there for the bishop. I see this, knight c5, and I see knight f4. Oof. Okay, keep it simple. I mean, I'm taking a pawn with a check. Keep it simple. So keep it simple, right? The keep it simple thing to do here, you can bring the rook, but, you know, just checking and trading off the rook is completely winning. I think my opponent will go king here. I can't predict any of this person's moves. They're actually, they're very, very good. Okay, we're going to keep it simple. And now we have knight e3 check, but you don't need to give checks. You don't need to just give empty checks. That doesn't even do anything. Let's go knight c5. Keep it simple. Attack the bishop, attack the rook. I think he's going to give me check, maybe. But check actually runs into a king attack. And in the endgame, the king is a very useful piece against the rook or a knight or a bishop, just not a queen. So now the rook is under attack, and the rook cannot defend the bishop anymore. It runs out of room. And so soon we will be picking up this bishop. The best thing to do is to check the bishop and play rook here. That is the best thing to do. Now, the way you win this position with 2 extra knights is you still can go for checkmate, but of course, you should promote one of the pawns. As always, that is the cleanest method of play, controlling the position, not allowing the opponent to bring a bunch of pawns down the board. By the way, people, you see, hey, we have the, oh, what is going on up there? What is this? This is some weird stuff. Let's crop this. I tried to put the piece counter of what's been captured, and it got a little weird on me. All right, so let's go like this. Maybe we make this a little bit larger. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. You let me know in the comments. People have been asking. So I have a 4-point material advantage, but it's actually going to be a little bit more than that. Now it's a 7-point material advantage. And so here is the easiest way to win. Cut the king off. Create a position where you defend your pieces and you don't let the king out. Keep the king boxed away. Keep the king, in the back. If you start checking the king will start running forward. You have to corral the king. Push the king back. Everything is covered. King here is mate in 1, by the way. I play rook g1 mate. Mate. My opponent does a good job. They avoid the checkmate. And so now, again, you can try to promote. But there is a cool little technique here. Maybe rook here. Defended by both, defended by the knight. And so now we look for checkmate. Knight d2, the king will go running. Knight g3 check, the king runs. So maybe we check the king first. with the rook. If the king goes this way, it's much easier. But maybe the king, hopefully my opponent's been playing very well. So they run to the corner, which is going to make our job easier. Because now we give, I think either check is fine. Knight check, the king goes to the corner, and the rook and the two knights just simply do the job together. And this is mate. And this is mate. Right? We didn't even need to promote. We didn't even need to move our king. Rook and two knights, just push the king all the way to the back. It was instructive how quick you can end the game. Because folks, a lot of beginners, they do all this work. They get here, and then then something like this happens. They go check. They go here. They take this pawn. They go check. They go here. They hang the knight. They go take this pawn. They give check here. And total chaos. Like complete chaos. Messy game. And by the way, let me know if you like the record. I've just been keeping it. I haven't been keeping it to let you know how amazing I am, but just showing you how many games it's taking. But if you don't like this because you think I'm like rubbing it in, please let me know. So the easiest way is just to corral the king. And if you get the king to the last rank of the board, and as you saw, particularly in the corner, it's a very useful skill to just simply ending the game, especially when you don't have a lot of time. Time is part of the game. I mean, you play 10, 15 minutes, it's about making the best moves in the most efficient time matter possible, right? Especially in blitz, especially in bullets. So it was kind of instructive how to get the job done a bit faster. Now, I want to go through a lot of different stuff in this game. First things first, Scandinavian defense, one of my favorites, but definitely something I would recommend if you're 1,000 or a little bit beyond. Why? Because chess is a massive ocean of different types of things that can happen. If your opponent plays the move e4, the game can go in a million different directions. This is your favorite slide at a water park, and you just go to the one slide. That's just what you do, all right? You go to the same slide over and over, and you really enjoy the same slide, and you have a blast, and then that's it, all right? And you can predict that they're going to take, and then they're going to go here and attack your queen. Like, it happens again and again and again and again, and you get a lot of reps. Why I don't recommend this for people who are maybe 500-600, but it's okay. You might lose your queen. But in simple terms, you move your queen to the side of the board. If at any point white tries to target you with a pawn, and there are some gambits where they give this pawn away even now, you play pawn up, and you bring the queen right back to safety. And the nice way to play this position is exactly how I showed you. I mean, like this, you can choose whether to castle short side, or what is sometimes a little bit more exciting is you castle the opposite way. And we know that when the kings are on opposite sides, it's much easier to launch a direct pawn storm attack against your king, against the king, because otherwise you would be opening the sides over here, right? It would be a little bit trickier, be a little bit harder. So in this game, my opponent went pawn here. I developed my bishop, and now, you learned the fishing pole. Fishing pole is when they've castled, you haven't, or vice versa. Be careful of the fishing pole. And if we turn on the analysis here, I played this move pawn to h5. None of the computer's recommendations are to take this bishop. It's too dangerous. The computer for white actually wants to do something that we have learned about a lot in this slow run, which is the other side has not castled, and we have. You should open the center, pawn to d5. And it can get so ugly here for black. If black takes, and then black takes again, the position is plus 3.7. Completely winning for white. And the more it thinks, the more it likes it. You play pawn to c6, it's plus 5. Why? Because the king is so weak. Check. King has to move somewhere. We've seen so many games like this. And I left my king in the center of the board. I'm not going to be doing this at 1500. I'm going to be playing a little bit more safely and cautiously. But this is the type of chess that really works up to 1000. Just like, it works beyond that as well, but kind of ruthless attack. Just going directly for the king. Because how else are you going to win a chess game? You're going to shuffle the pieces around and sort of hope that somebody blunders something. My opponent went pawn to g3, and by the way, the computer doesn't even want to take the knight. It wants to go queen h5. And in this game, I played quite safely. This was definitely the best move. Bishop f4 was reasonable. Here I wanted to show how how interesting the chessboard is from the perspective of like so many moves that you have. You know, you see your bishop is targeted and 99 out of 100 people just go bishop takes, queen takes. Okay, good trade. And then as you get better, you go, hey, can't I go here with the idea to pin the bishop to the queen? Many people go, oh, cool, the queen f5 is a good move. Because if they take my bishop, I take the queen. That's not why queen f5 is a good move. That's if queen f5 is a good move and your opponent's a moron. Queen f5 is a good move because you bring your queen, you bring your most powerful piece to the side of the board where things are looking most promising and you clearly have a target. You need to bring your most powerful piece to the side where you are trying to attack. The queen standing over here is a byproduct of the opening. You played the Scandinavian because you brought your queen out, and it's sitting like a car, like a police car, on the side of a highway. For my Americans, I don't know if this is a European thing. Is that like a thing? You're driving on the highway in Europe and there's a police car scanning your speed? I don't know. I really don't know. It's an American thing. You're driving too fast and all of a sudden you see a state trooper and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I've never sped ever in my life. I drive exactly the speed limit. Yeah, I'm not speaking from experience. And then you zip over very quickly, right? And so you have to understand the dynamics of your pieces and how all of your pieces have a role and how they all see things and how they all want different prospects, right? And how some of them just come out and stand solidly in the center waiting for the king to make a passage, and how some are ready to zip over at a moment's notice, and how it's not as simple as, well, I can take. Now, if you're looking at me talking about this right now and going, this is above my pay grade, I just completely cannot think like this, I know. You got to do it for years. Like, you got to play hundreds of games to get quick understanding of, you know, and by the way, is pawn to e5 a good move? Pawn takes, bishop takes, but you shouldn't even have to think about it. Why? Your king is here. Like, you shouldn't even go, okay, well, pawn takes, bishop takes, queen takes. No, you just lose the game. This move is horrific. Look what happens. Yes, the trade is fair, but you lose your queen immediately. And by the way, even if that move wasn't played, even if white just went like king here, it's still much better for white because your king is in the middle of the board. Shouldn't be opening the king. So you have to have certain quick heuristics that you don't even, you know, and for example, what about the move, you know, what about b5? Maybe, but your brain should slowly start telling you like something's not right here. Now, here my opponent needed to make a run for it with the king. That was a little bit hard to understand. And in this position, as black, you gotta kind of know what to think about, what to focus on. And I decided that I was going to, you know, castle, bring my knight, bring my second rook, which you should do here before you start rushing at your opponent. There is no immediate win here. I thought this was practically speaking the best move, because if the knight blocks, I take the pawn. And if the king goes to the edge of the board, well, this would just be mate. So I would expedite that process. I could even bring my king up. And bringing your king up like this in endgames with no queens on is actually quite an effective strategy. The rest of the game I thought was pretty straightforward. I thought I explained my thought process quite well. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. If the rook takes, just don't even think about it. Just snap take. Snap take. Now, the way you win this, slowly advancing the pawns, the knight, the king, very important piece in the endgame, the rooks. Make sure you're not allowing the opponent to sneak into your position somehow. And endgames are where, you know, games are lost, actually, quite frequently. Okay, that was a very long analysis. Let's keep playing. Let's play pawn to e4. We've played a lot of we played a London, we played this. Okay, e4, e5. Last time I showed you the power of the Vienna. I'm going to try to continue to convince you this is an amazing opening, but we will play some other stuff as well. I play a few Viennas. Okay, here we play Vienna Gambit. The Gambit. Knight on f6. We give this pawn. Many people take this pawn. That's a losing move. Many people go here. That's a losing move. The best move is pawn to d5. I would be... Wow. Okay. This is very rare air. Okay, well, that was a short-lived that was a short-lived experiment. Queen's hanging. So is the knight. I'm going to play a very simple move. I'm just going to block with the bishop. Now, we can get our knight out, but I kind of want to put my knight on the traditional square, so I'm just going to pop my queen out real quick. Now, what does our queen see? Ooh, my opponent's rushing. They're really, really rushing. They just totally forgot about this knight. And, folks, I'm telling you, chaos in the center gets 5 and 600 so often. This is just immediately the loss of a fatal amount of material. And I have been talking about when the queen starts poking out, got to think about what it sees. It sees the pawn, but it also can zip over here at a moment's notice, hit the king, hit the pawn. Now, here's a cool one for you, okay? Queen here is a direct attack on the king. But if we take with the knight, I think my opponent will develop their knight, and we can double check and mate them. We are oh, okay, never mind. Maybe we can set the trap. What if we set a trap here? We'll set a trap. I'm gonna give away a pawn. You think they're gonna take it? My opponent plays extremely fast. It didn't work. It didn't work, unfortunately. Well, then I'm gonna play my bishop to this square and see the bishop on this diagonal. I got a little bit carried away. We have some cool moves we can play here, but I'm just going to stick to the principles, finish up my development. I'm going to choose a way to castle. That move actually hangs a queen. That move hangs a queen, which is really nasty business. Let's see how to react if we make a small mistake. We're going to castle. I don't think a 560 would see the tactic that I will play, but I will show you how you can even come up with such things. This is actually quite a fascinating little position. I am winning. I'm up a knight. We have castled on the same side, so I will show you how to generate an attack on the same side of the board. I guess it doesn't quite win a queen. Yeah, please forget what I said. Please forget what I said. Sometimes my mouth moves faster than my brain. So the way you start an attack here is you try to ask yourself, hey, if I got a few moves in a row, can I checkmate my opponent? Now, in a 10-minute game, you don't really have that much time to come up with that stuff. But let's say you're sitting here like, well, I got to get my queen over there. Maybe something like this. Yeah, but don't forget the queen is defending the knight. So you can defend the knight extra, or bring the rook, right? You haven't moved the rook yet. So now you have extra defense here, and maybe we're going to go like this. At a higher level, you realize you can activate your queen without moving it. You can activate your queen by moving this knight. And the knight standing on that square would be absolutely vicious. It would target the queen, it would target the bishop, and if you put this knight there and brought the queen, it would be amazing. It would be devastating, right? So that's always kind of lurking in the position. This idea to transfer the knight here and here. And I would like to show you this little idea. Now, I'm going to go knight d4. The queen and the rook are staring here. I think because I went here, my opponent will suddenly notice this because they will look here and then spot the pawn. It's very natural for people to think like this. But I'm trying to put my knight right there. Unfortunately, my opponent fell for the age-old trap of you attack the piece that already had a plan to move somewhere, right? You facilitated the movement of the piece here, and now this is really bad news for black. Because with the knight and the queen working together, it's going to be really nasty to defend and basically impossible. Queen is coming here, and that's just mate. The knight and the queen working together cannot be stopped, and we are just crashing through. Vienna's a great opening, but I will play some other stuff. I will play completely normal chess. I'll probably play, okay, queen e6, targets our knight. It's protected, targeting this, but we have more defenders than they have the ability to attack us with, and after queen g4, it's actually just game over. The only way to stop the checkmate here is to sacrifice the queen for the knight. Black has no checks against our king, and these are the two pieces that are teaming up, and this is checkmate. That was a nice and smooth attack. You will not have such, smooth attacks all the time. You will not so easily come up with the pattern of a queen and knight dashing in, but the point of this is to learn how powerful queen and knight together are. And this square on f5, where my knight is an outpost. An outpost is a square past the center line, so usually on the opponent's side of the board, where you plant one of your pieces, usually a knight, but it can also be a bishop. Your knight cannot be removed from that square, at least without monumental effort. And the knight is protected and exerts a lot of pressure. Why is this an outpost? It's protected by the rook, but more importantly, it is extremely difficult for black to get rid of this knight. That's the hard part. The bishop can't touch the knight. The pawns are terribly positioned. If this pawn was there, we would never have this outpost because the knight would be taken. The knight can't get this knight away. It's going to take it at least 4 moves to even see the knight. Isn't that crazy? This knight will not see this knight unless 4 moves go by. It has to go here, here. Well, I suppose you can argue this, but I would just take it. So, and then you would need the queen to move, and then you would need the knight to go to the e7 square. Like, there is no other way. The knight just simply cannot fight off this knight. The rook can, but good luck. That's going to take, and by the way, I'm protected. So, and the second lesson being, you can activate a piece without moving it. You can activate a piece without moving it. The third lesson being, give yourself a few moves in a row. Think how you would end the game. These are all such useful little mechanisms in your mind so that you're not just scatterbrained. You're not just going, oh, free pawn. Like, again, we are trying to play on the side where we are stronger. Same side attacking chess. When you've castled on the same side. Last game, we had opposite side attacking chess. This game, we have same side attacking chess. I really recommend, if you really, really, truly want to learn, obviously you'll have to watch these videos a couple of times. Hopefully they're enjoyable and you like them. Write some notes down. Call them nuggets of wisdom, something like that. It's hard to always, formulate a framework of how to play every single game. I'm trying to kind of spread it out. And I don't want you to play the games like, what did Levy say in Slow Run, episode 7, game 2? Like, that's not how you play. You just slowly improve your skills and try to get better a little bit at a time. So I played Vienna Gambit. Vienna Gambit's incredible. I always try to, link Chessly if you want to learn the Vienna Gambit. This is a really, really vicious idea in the Vienna Gambit. The knight can't go forward, has to go back. And then you get monster development. Monster, like extremely, extremely fast-paced development. We can... I'll play one more. We have another game with white. I'll play e4, and if I get e5, okay. Let's just play very normal chess. Queen f6, okay. Great. Very normal chess is finished. We will now learn how to deal with stupid early queen attacks. I'm not calling my opponent stupid, but this is very normal beginner stuff. You see the queen. We're going to follow good principles. I'm going to put 2 pieces in the center, although even pushing the pawn is a little bit better. Now, what I like to do against these early queen lords, remember, 2 pawns in the middle. If you can trade the second, then do it. And now it's your choice. Do you want to trade the queen or not? Keep in mind, if you keep the queen on the board, you need to be a little bit more vigilant, okay? I mean, I don't know. They're both kind of okay. Let's trade and let's see. Will the opponent trade the queen? Okay, they do. Now we have a queenless game. Bishop to b4. Let's work on our thought process. This is a pin. We can target the bishop. We can develop any which way. If you're thinking things like knight there and take, you're breaking the principles. Generally, that's not going to work. You're not going to do damage to a fully set up row of pieces with just a knight. So, okay, let's respect this and block it. Let's be a little bit passive. That's a very bad decision. Trading the bishop away so quickly for our really powerful bishop And now you're trading a dark squared bishop, but you're playing on the light squares. That doesn't make sense. If you trade a dark squared bishop, your dark squares got weaker. So you need to make sure your pawns are actually on the dark squares. Now, remember how I just said this is not a good move? Now it's a borderline winning move. It's a borderline winning move because there is insufficient defense of the dark squares. In fact, I can take this because my bishop goes there. Players at this level don't even realize how quickly they can negatively impact their own position. I'm going to castle because it's good principles, but if my opponent keeps violating principles, I will need to begin punishment. Okay, that attacks our pawn. The simple thing to do here is to protect the pawn. Pawn up to f3, pawn is protected, life is good. Bishop here, pawn is protected, life is good. Rook here, pawn is protected, life is good. You know what's a bad move? Pushing the pawn. When you push a pawn to attack a knight, you often let the knight get much more active. There is a nice mechanism here to simply restrict the knight. You set up a very good barrier, you defend this, you don't let the knight come forward, it's like little spikes. And now we begin the next phase of the game where we try to go for some sort of attack. So I would like to go there, I would like to go there. All of those moves are kind of, well met by something taking. Okay, I'm going to go knight to f5. If my opponent takes, I'm going to take. Fair trade. Not the best move, but it's life. Now, when I moved my knight, my rook opened to see this pawn. My opponent might just completely not realize that. They go here, which targets my bishop, but the knight used to block my diagonal. And so now I win a pawn. The rook has to go here. Now I can retreat my bishop to a safe square. I can also retreat my bishop out this way. I will, and let's see if my opponent barrels in and just blunders the knight in one move. I literally and they just resign. They just resign. Yeah, play too fast. And it's so interesting how we see so many personalities in this slow run, right? That was an extremely, extremely aggressive player. So when you have somebody who's bringing the queen out, it's not good to bring the queen out as black. White goes first. And so what I was going to play in this game is I was going to play the Scotch opening. I was going to try to very quickly go 2 pawns in the middle. The Scotch is a great opening. Gets you a very nice and easy game. Open board, bishops come out, knight comes out, everybody comes out, and you, happily ever after. In this game, I just quickly killed all the fun. And, I respected my opponent's position. I didn't want to get my pawns doubled, but it's still completely fine. I decided, okay, the best way to meet a pin, especially when they can take, is respecting it. But here, look, the position is only slightly better for white. It's +1. With the next move, it's probably +2, 2.5. I mean, I'm telling you, I know a thing or two about chess. This, very bad for black. And this, from 2.3 to 5. 5. Why? Because the best move, you just swarm. In fact, you can take. It's even better. You get a pawn, you threaten this, you get the knight, but you get a pawn back, and then you immediately get the rook as well. By move 7-8, the position is completely hopeless for black. It's hopeless in the hands of the right person. I hope you understand that. It's one of those if the tree falls in the forest type of thing and nobody's there to hear it. If it's +5 and you're 500, it's not +5. But still, the way you play, it's move 10, you can't have everybody back here, and you can't just have like a scrambled little pawn structure. Again, instructive moment. Knight to f6. This move is not the best. It's a very solid move, but it's not the best move. The best move is punishment, just immediately jumping in and taking and getting the knight to the d6 square. By the way, outpost. Hey, outpost square. Outpost. This not quite an outpost because g6, but this outpost. Outpost. Who's getting rid of the knight on that square? Nobody. There's no bishop. The knights are terribly positioned. Nice outpost square. Now, watch. If we go e5, right? Also significantly reduced. And after this, suddenly you're getting forked. Now, the way this game ended up going, this is definitely not the best move, by the way. Knight f5, definitely not the best move. The way this game ended up going is my opponent played this, and I took a pawn. Now, folks, this move should sound alarm bells for two reasons. Even if you don't spot this move, with black, you should be thinking, my king is in the middle. I attack the rook, but it's going to slide over and just... I lose my knight immediately because my king is in the center. Principles, principles, principles. Every other game in the slow run, we encounter somebody who just doesn't play by any principles. And they just kind of play, and that's okay. But you can have so much success by playing in the center, playing good principle chess. You don't have to know any openings at all. All I did in this game is I put two knights out and my second pawn. And then from there, I just got my pieces out slowly. I castled, I defended myself. And I learned, like, right away, I'm seeing, okay, this is blocking the knight, and, you know, b5 is not getting any pieces out, and, you know, and that's how you play. We're 20-0 now. We're close to 600. And, yeah, I'll see you for episode number 7. And if you like the content, you like my explanations, you like the openings I'm playing, you should check out Chessly. That's what you should do. That's all I have for you today. Get out of here.